pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For your information, the fire exits are here to your left and to your right. And if there is an incident, you'll be notified from either this podium or somebody from the facility. Please leave in a kind and orderly manner. Thank you. I open the meeting for comments of the public at this time. Go ahead, Mr. Trahan.
Yeah, I'm Mark Trahan. I'm one of the owners of the property on Pratt and Maple. I just wondered if you made an official decision on what you're going to do as far as the paving or whatever down there.
We're going to vote on it tonight, shortly after.
Okay. Are you going to vote on paving or what you're going to do?
I'd like to compromise. Put some stack mat in this year and do paving later. We're going to vote on it here in just a few minutes. We talked to pretty much everybody in the building, and of course I talked to you and your dad. We'd like to do tarmac, but I don't know if we can swing it this year, so we're going to vote. Hopefully we'll decide to be able to put stack mat in.
Okay.
Anybody else at this time? You'll have a chance at the end of the meeting. And you have a group back there.
Don't be shy back there. Somebody wants to talk.
Or you're just here to observe?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, fine.
I'll talk later.
You gotta get a chance at the end of the meeting. Okay, I close this section now. Minutes of the previous meetings of February 22nd, the special meeting on March 5th. Board, y'all have a copy. Is there any additions or deletions?
There was a correction that I mentioned to Bill on page 1 of the minutes of the February 22nd meeting. Bill, on the bid items, did we change that number 2 after 2B to 3?
I will.
Okay. That was for the bid item.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying,
Yeah. That was the only change that I found.
Any other discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, sorry.
Make the motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Sorry, missed that one. Okay, it's passed already. Bills. You all have copies of the bills. Is there any additions or deletions?
Not that I know of.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills as written.
I'll second it.
Motion by trustee Penfield, seconded by trustee Jefferson. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Correspondence.
We have one letter, it was dated February 23rd. It's to the Honorable George Rivers. Dear George, please accept my letter of resignation. I have been with the Zoning Board of Appeals since its inception. I also served with the original zoning group that worked with Dr. Lamb to set up zoning in Rouses Point. I have tried to forge my decisions based on what is best for the village. I know we have had a few dissatisfied villagers, but I still feel that the decisions were the right ones for the community. I will be spending more time in the South over the next few years and will not be as available as in the past. I always felt we need to give something back to the community, and I feel I have to fill that need. Thank you for feeling I can serve the community and appointing me. Sincerely, Ralph Boyer. Need a motion.
Need a motion to accept that.
I'll move that we accept Ralph's resignation with thanks to him for all of his hard work over the years with the zoning board.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seconded by trustee Jefferson. Motion by trustee Penfield. No discussion. All those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
And that's all we have.
All right.
That's all we have for correspondence.
Thank you. Reports of the mayor and the board of trustees. The first thing on my agenda is the discussion of the Nikon meeting that Phil and I attended last week. The meeting for us, I think, was very, very fruitful. We had some
I was actually shocked because Senator Bruno gave one of the best talks he's ever given at NICOM. And the panic button in Albany this year is pension reform and mandate reform. If you're not aware, Controller Heisey there has really put the P to the villages, towns, and cities with payback on the pension plan. Our cost is extremely up there on that. Well over 100,000 we have to pay back into it. And every mayor that was there was screaming at their legislators, they've got to do something. We just can't. People are actually having to borrow money to pay these bills. Maybe not as fortunate as we are or other people who have to go out and borrow. So it's a real serious thing. And of course, the mandate reform is the hottest topic again is the witch law. There is a movement to raise the limits where it would help the villages and the towns and the fire districts, and so they have to go out for them all those 3 bids. If they raise those limits up to where it's acceptable. We had a meeting with Senator Little, which was very fruitful. I talked to her about property annex, this safety issue, to get the DEC to move on it. And she definitely agrees with that and is working on it. And we talked to her on a couple other things that we have her support completely. A couple of them I don't want to say too much about right now until it comes together. And Assemblyman Ortloff's office was more than helpful right there. Made some contacts for us. So it was all in all a good meeting. You got anything to add, Phil?
No, it was excellent. It was one of the best ones I've been to.
How about the state budget? Is that going to be passed on that issue?
Their optimism is that they will work night and day to pass it. The reality is we may wait till September.
Got to keep me on overtime like they said they were going to do.
Well, they have some sort of a plan they used to use about 25 to 30 years ago where it was a contingency budget, and that was passed. If the budget didn't pass on time, that was the budget. And then they would work filling it in. And may go back to that, I guess. Okay, second thing on my agenda, I'm asking board's permission to go to the St. Patrick's Day breakfast a week from Thursday. Represent the village.
I'll make a motion to allow the mayor to go to breakfast. How about taking Phil with you?
I think anybody that wants to go.
I'm going to be getting
Oh, that's right. So
He's going to be on vacation.
I'll be out of town, so I can go.
Anybody that wants to go. Leave at 7 in the morning. Yeah, but he's not on board. And he had to wear a green
You
tie.
go,
and a green
you got to
shirt.
pay your own.
I have a
Second
motion. Seconded by trustee Penfield. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Second thing is request to travel to Washington DC to meet with Congressman McHugh. I talked to him very briefly the 5th of, about 35 demerits for this one. I talked to him briefly on the 5th of February about some things, and he said, why don't you come down and we'll discuss them, so that's what it is. One of them is to talk about where we can get funding for the D&H station. The other one is, second thing is, again, the safety issue, to get the United States government to annex that property. I don't know where to go, nobody else seems to know where to go, so maybe we can get our congressman.
I'll make that motion to allow the mayor to go to Washington DC.
The only thing you'll have to pay for is airline ticket. Everything else is taken care of down there.
Good for you.
Second.
Motion by trustee Jefferson, seconded by trustee Moore. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. And I have one other thing, on a supplemental, I wanted to surplus, declared surplus, the 1995 computer system. Do we need a motion on that? I'll put that in form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made by myself, seconded by trustee Jefferson. Any discussion?
What's it worth? Probably nothing, huh? 10 years old?
We're going to give it to the village of Champlain to use for the code enforcement there.
And it's currently not being used by anyone in the village here.
No, since, it hasn't been used for the last year. It's just sitting there. Any other discussion? All those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried. And that's it for me. Trustee Penfield, you have the floor.
Thank you. First thing I'll do is actually number 2 on my agenda, having to do with the subdivision law. I spoke with Mike Tatro before the meeting tonight, and he received a letter from Tom Renane, I guess this afternoon in the mail. And Tom is interested in coming up and meeting with us to discuss some of what's in here. We spoke at the last meeting that he was going to have some comments as well as our comments, and I don't know whether he would rather come up and meet with us in person rather than just sending them up through Mike. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, he wants to meet with people involved in the process.
Okay, so Mike said that he would contact him tomorrow and set up a time. It will likely be next week, so this week is already pretty well tied up. So I guess we'll put that on the back burner again for another meeting. The second item I have on my agenda deals primarily with an update on the sewer project. Phil received an email today from Aaron over at Tisdale because he's not here. I don't know whether you all have copies of that or not, but just to sum up what is happening, apparently with the contract number 4, the force main and the outfall piping is complete and minor work remains in a few manholes. The force main piping into the new influent building is complete. North End, Maple Street, and South End pump station force main connections are planned for this week, primarily Tuesday and Friday. There is some minor drainage and cleanup work remaining at Shazy Hardware, and the cleanup work will primarily be done in the spring when things dry up. And the submerged outfall line is to be repaired this spring, as we talked about at the last meeting. In terms of the general contract number 5, the influent building is 90% complete and is ready to accept waste from the new force mains. The sludge press installation and startup is complete. Chlorine contact tank modifications are nearly complete. South End pump station piping modifications are 75% complete, and there is an anticipation that the work will be complete in 2 to 3 weeks with the exception of spring cleanup. Electrical work is progressing well. Ventilation system, the work is nearly complete. Anticipating that the electrical work will be complete in 3 to 4 weeks. And finally, an update on the trunk sewer cleaning. The cleaning, inspection, and pipe joint testing sealing is complete, and the manhole sealing is anticipated to be completed this spring, as cold temperatures do not allow sealing compounds to cure properly. And I know that I think we need to give them, is that correct, Brian? We need to give them the go-ahead as to when they're coming back. I was reading that one letter that came from Eric.
For the pipe.
No, for Trent, Severn Trent. Yeah.
We're gonna close down and then
Because they
reset
have-
the date?
Exactly, yeah, we're gonna let them know when, yeah, okay.
Maybe later in the spring, it's ground.
Right, I just think we want to make sure that we keep track of that. And then I was speaking to Phil earlier this afternoon as well regarding the financing. We apparently will know sometime around mid-month whether or not we are in the pool for the July financing. So hopefully our application did get there by March 1st. Everything has been filed. It's just a matter of waiting to see now at this point when we will hear back on that financing. I know Aaron will be in town on Thursday for a progress meeting, so if anyone has any questions for him. And there's still an issue apparently about the leak at the sewer plant roof, which they are attempting to work out this week as we speak. Hopefully that will go smoothly as well. Beyond that, I don't know, Doug, whether you have anything else to add based on Aaron's update?
Aaron's update is pretty good. I had a couple of items to add to it. On the outfall line, there's still a portion of the outfall line that needs hydro testing. Hopefully that'll be completed this week. And assuming that that will be completed this week, then along with the tie-ins that you mentioned, Kelly, of the pump stations to the new force main connections, the outfall is going to be connected also. In case we get hammered with spring rain, runoff, et cetera, then we're going to have that new outfall connected so that if we need it, we can share the flow from the plant with it, so we don't overflow manholes or we don't overflow at the plant. And on the force main going through Shazy Hardware, we talked with the contractor. We steered them towards working on the Bayshard subdivision area first, digging there, doing all of the work there before they broke into Shazy Hardware's backyard. We're trying to protect them from as much disturbance as possible, making it the least disturbance as possible. And that's it.
Any of that weather dependent on,
The work that they're doing,
across the street.
over where?
Across the street at Bayshore Drive and then Shady Hardware?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably they'll proceed if it's raining, if it's snowing.
So we don't have an issue, anything similar to what we have down next to Sandy's Deli
No,
in terms of timing?
no,
Okay.
because we're further away from the lake.
Right.
So, yeah, we should be all right.
Thank you, Doug.
And as I said, I know Aaron, it was Thursday, correct, Phil? Yes, Aaron will be in town, so I'm going to try to get to see him Thursday afternoon if I can, if he's still here when I get back from school. But just like to touch base with him about what's happening in addition to the update that he's given us. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you, trustee Penfield. Trustee Jefferson.
I just have a couple items on my agenda tonight. First of all, I've spoken with all the parties involved on Maple Street, and I'd like to make a motion tonight to fix the west side of Maple Street, dig up what has to be done, and put stag mat in this year. And hopefully with a year or so that tightens up, and hopefully our budget opens up a little bit more next year. We can maybe pave it next year, but this year we'd like to just put some stag mat in and keep all the residents on Maple Street happy. So I'll put that in the form of a motion.
No. Sorry.
Any second?
I'll second the
Motion made by trustee Jefferson, seconded by trustee Moore. Any discussion?
Yeah. You say the whole street or?
No,
Limit
just
to
the
what
area,
you're- you can
just
use
the
it west
area
side.
on the west side of the highway by Mark and Mike Tran's building. So that would be approximately 50 feet, I believe the lots are 50 by 150. So it would be from the corner of Lake Street on the west side of Maple, going back the length of your property. And it's 50 or 75, the dimensions of your lot, Mark, you know? The lots of, over here? Yeah, it's about 100 and...
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
Well, it
it's
would
probably
be
about
up to the first driveway.
Yeah.
So I would say that, I know my lot's 50 by 150.
That's what, about 5 feet wide? 5
Yeah,
or 6
it's
feet?
a little more than that.
8, I think.
8 feet wide?
Yeah.
It's not very big.
No. Well, it's not gonna be very much labor. It's gonna put stag mat in there. It will eliminate the mud problem that everybody seems to be complaining about.
How about Maple, corner of Maple and White Apartments?
Well, we didn't really, nobody brought that issue up, so,
So everybody parks there, shouldn't be grass there either.
well, we're probably gonna have to do something with that too, but I figured we kinda dragged our feet on this a little bit. Couldn't get a hold of everybody in the amount of time. Jules is out of town in New York City, so, took a couple extra meetings to get back to him.
Is that
Right.
acceptable, Mark?
Yeah.
Brian, do we have the materials to do that? We do, so we don't, it's not requiring us to order anything.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, vote by use of sign of aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and the other thing, I just want to remind people that next Tuesday's election day. The polls are open from noon to 9 o'clock, so please get out. Oh, I get the wrong hours.
No, noon to 9.
Noon to 9. Oh, sorry, yeah, noon to 9, yeah. I just want to remind everybody to vote next week. And that's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you, trustee Jefferson. Trustee Moore.
I got a few things. I'd like to make this into a form of a motion. Requesting permission for Dave Zupna and Gary Malinsky to attend a 2-day training seminar. The seminar will be held in Lake George on April 11th and 12th. The seminar will provide required contact hours for license recertification. Total cost of $668.
I'll second that.
Motion made by trustee Moore, seconded by trustee Jefferson. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and I'd like to make this into a motion also, request permission for Mike Riley and Gary Malinsky to attend a 1-day seminar held in Clinton County Health Department. The seminar will be classified on April 5th. The topics lead and copper rules. Contact Harold to be earned toward recertification. Total cost of $16.
Second.
Motion by trustee Moore, seconded by trustee Penfield. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, vote by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay. Contract for 2005 paving various locations throughout the village. The bid was opened February 9th, 2005. This I would like to make into a motion. Award paving contract for Carter's for bid number 1, village parking lot, $11,880. Bid 3, bid item 3, Civic Center walkways, $12,500. Bid item 4A, Mountain View Drive, $16,500. Bid item 5, Clinton Street, $37,500, with a total of $78,380.
And I'll second that.
Motion made by trustee Moore, seconded by trustee Jefferson. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that we talked on this over the weekend. We had budget meetings, and originally, we wanted to do about $116,000 worth of paving in the village. It's a lot of money, it's kind of costly, but we compromised down, and that's what we came up with. So I think with Brian told us that about the bare minimum that we could get by with doing this year. So do 78 this year and 60, 70,000 next year, and hopefully be up to snuff.
What are they exactly doing, Brian? Taking up the old sidewalk?
No, sir.
Or taking up the stuff that's broken up for that?
Sir. 2 inches right over the top.
Even for over the broken stuff?
We can get them to probably cut it out.
Especially along by the tennis court, that's.
But I think the bid calls for just resurfacing 2 inches. See, the reason why a lot of that got broken out there is because one time they drove a heavy truck out there to change lights. And those walks aren't made to drive heavy trucks on. They're walkways.
Right.
They're like sidewalks, you know what I mean?
But over here, for a drain pipe or something, well, that should be.
Right.
Well, actually, we could dig up.
Yeah, they'll go through and they'll spot patch here and there, then they'll put a coating on top, that's what they use.
That's gonna take care out in front here also too, right?
No,
No.
that's
Oh, that
separate.
isn't, that's separate.
It's gonna be cemented.
Oh, that's right, we're gonna cement that, I forgot.
But it starts right over there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just need to make sure that there are some areas that are really unsafe, especially
Right.
for kids on bikes, so we need to make sure that those get repaired, or we need to make sure that
They get repaired before,
when they
yeah.
finish, you repair it, right?
Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Trustee Penfield.
Aye.
Trustee Jefferson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye.
And one other thing, what's the board plan on doing with the old fire truck? It's just sitting there rotting, they,
We have surplus that trucks. It's surplus, it's been advertised. You're talking about the old...
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to get something for it. We hate to give it away.
Have we received any bids or offers on it?
We received one after we put it in the newspaper, we didn't receive any, and it was several months after that we received a bid, and I can't remember which one.
Done.
3500. Oh, yeah? 3,500?
I mean, it wasn't that much.
I thought it was like hundreds.
No, it was a couple thousand, but I can't
it's
remember.
not doing any good just sitting there rotting, I mean, we gotta put it out for bid or just do something with it. It's not-
Did we respond to the offer that we got?
Kind of was told on because it wasn't, we were hoping to.
We asked for a minimum of 10 grand.
We were hoping, if you want me to re-advertise, we can.
We gotta do something, it's not gonna sit there forever.
Was the minimum of 10 grand in the ad?
No.
So the person who put in the bid wouldn't have had a way to know that.
And as I said, we've done several months after the actual newspaper ad.
I should think that we should at least respond. Shouldn't we? I mean, do we at least decline the offer?
Well, what's it worth to you?
I don't know, there's so many of them trucks out there, Brian, it's, look
Looking
at Fire
at,
Magazine, there's all kinds.
looking at trade magazine, what would John use it for? Boat fires?
What do you want to do with that?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But there is a couple, I think Isla Mott was asking about it, for North Bureau, was it Vermont communities? They were wondering if you're gonna advertise it back out to the paper again so they can bid on it.
We can do that.
I mean,
Even if we went up a little bit more, got 4,000 or 5,000 for it, better than nothing.
We can advertise it.
Advertise it one more time. see what-
Advertise it one more time,
Yeah,
yeah.
go from there.
is it in the local paper or?
What about selling it on eBay? Sometimes they
You ever
do
look on
that.
eBay?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
There's about 300 or 400 fire trucks on eBay.
Oh, I never looked at this.
Put it out one more time and see what happens.
Well, let's get back to the offer though. No one ever responded to John when he made this offer. Because I was unaware of it, and I just think that's very, very poor practice. If he actually submitted in good faith an offer and this village did not respond to him, I think that's really poor practice. So I think we either consider his offer as part of the next round of bids, or we at least have to send him a letter. Or a phone call.
Why don't we just, do like Junior said, re-announce it, and then if we don't, I mean, tell them in the meantime that. I don't think it was done on purpose.
I think it was just an oversight because we had asked for 10 grand.
We didn't ask for 10 grand, it wasn't in the ad, so we didn't ask
No, what I'm
for
saying,
it.
we made a motion to advertise it for 10 grand.
Then how was it on the ad?
I don't know that, but we made a motion to advertise it for 10 grand. Minimum.
I don't
It was
remember
just
there
out
being a
for-
10 grand
I
minimum.
don't remember if it being on, it just go out for bid on it, whatever, not that.
How much to put it in the paper, Phil? Probably 40, 50 bucks?
100 to be sure.
100?
Put it back in, see what happens.
We want a minimum on it. You want to drop it to 5,000. It's worth that. The engine alone in there is worth, anywhere from $12,000, $14,000.
Right, if nobody wants it.
George, it's worth what we can get for it.
Yeah,
My
I know,
dad
but
used
I'm
to
just
say.
saying.
See what we can get and let the board decide after, I mean, it's not doing any good sitting there.
Let's try one more time, spend $100 more and put another ad out. Even if we got 500 or 1,000 more, we'd still recoup that.
So, again, road for a street sign. That's right.
Brian, would you be willing to call those departments to let them know that we're going to re-advertise?
Yes, we
To
can
see whether or not
also-
there's any interest?
When's the next county meeting also?
Next Thursday night, this Thursday night.
We can go to the county meeting also, and we can try to advertise it there also. We can bring it up, so.
Give it one more shot. They could just give it.
Make a motion. Make a motion to advertise it.
Okay.
Make a
Go ahead,
motion,
yeah.
advertise it one more time.
Have a second?
Second it. You want to put a minimum on it, or?
No minimum, just.
No minimum.
Motion made by trustee Moore, seconded by trustee Jefferson. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, vote by the sign of aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carried.
That's all I got.
Thank you, trustee Moore. Bill?
And nothing, sir.
Oh, that's good. I don't know if I want to talk to Johnny come lately.
I just want to report that we're continuing to work on the budget. As I said at the budget meeting on Saturday, looks like we're going to be able to hold the line on the tax rate.
That's good news. No increase in taxes. Unless the
Unless we have an
assessor
emergency.
raises your assessment.
Unless we have an emergency.
Brian, can you give us an update on electrical?
The Maple Street project, we're planning to energize it next Monday. We're going to start working on houses over, and you'll see the lines start to come down. We've been in contact with Kurt Wilson, our electrical engineer. He's planning to come up Monday, Tuesday. When he comes up, he's going to program the switches on the corner of Academy and on the corner of Liberty, so we'll be set to go. He's going to give us, he's going to help us out with our substation control building, just to make sure that we have everything in place, and we'll start wiring it, and so we'll be ready in the spring to go online.
That's some good news.
Get all the new meters in yet, or still?
We have one more round of meters. We're doing it in four, we're gonna do it in 4 different sections, the way the meter routes are assigned. And the first month, we did 2 whole meter routes. Last month, we had some problems with deep snow and a couple of meter boxes we had to change, so we kind of got behind and we could only do one. So this month, we're gonna finish them off. And then it'll be all remote. The system's working fine. They worked on it today, just changing a few different locations to make the route more user-friendly, so that anyone can, once we get to training, anyone in the line group can just go out and do the readings in one day.
Anything else? Thank you. Ducky?
Just a couple things, last couple of weeks, we continue to work on the sewer rates. We'll be getting back to you with that. We continue to help Phil with some easement issues related to the projects. We've done a little bit of work with Melissa on some of her projects. And we also worked on some correspondence with the DEC regarding DEP. Questions?
You couldn't be here this week.
Yeah.
I'd like to get you and I and Brian. And having a senior moment.
Okay.
Mr. McCollum, together on what I had talked to you about numbering,
Yes.
so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right. I'll just let me know when and I'll be back.
Okay. I talked to Brian afterwards. Fortunately, no, okay, Melissa, you got the floor.
Oh, thank you. I'm donating most of my time tonight to Lisa Nagel and Jared Padgett from Lawn Planning and Design. They're here to give the board an update on the downtown study and the waterfront project concept design.
I'm going to take about 30 seconds of time, and then I'm going to yield the rest of my time to him.
Listen, this is not the United States Congress, you don't have to yield.
Just to, I'm sort of here for the big picture. I believe all of you joined us on January 8th at the public meeting, and that was the beginning of about a 10 to 12 month long process. What we're doing is preparing a downtown revitalization plan, which is really, really from where we are here at the Civic Center down to Gaines Marina and all of your waterfront. Part of what we're looking at are some marketing and demographic analysis, which we're just beginning. Then we're going to be looking at the physical enhancements of this entire area. And then one of the project components that we want to interact more closely with the board on is the state dock and the waterfront park. And Jared is here tonight to give us an update on that. We started working with the committee. I guess we've been meeting once a month with the committee after our visioning session, and they've been going well. Sort of using them to hash out some ideas, and then what we'd like to do is begin to share some of those particular ideas with you at the board as we move through that process. So I believe that's where we're at. We're about in month 3, and we're pretty much right on schedule. And I'll let Jared and I talk about the state dock in Waterfront Park.
Thank you.
As Lisa had mentioned, with 2 projects going on, the downtown enhancement study and the waterfront projects, which include the boat launch, the waterfront park, and the state pier, state dock. What we did, one of the first items we completed was the value engineering on the state dock, and the value engineering consisted of taking the design as it currently stands and confirming what we feel would be an appropriate construction value for doing that project, and which came out about $1.5 million. And in addition to that, the value engineering also looked at other options that could be considered in the design process for a dock structure out there, and we submitted a report on that, cumulative report to the village on that. What we're doing now is we're looking at the other 2 projects here, the waterfront park and the state dock. And what I'd like to go through very briefly would be the process in which we're going through that design. And the intent of this is to make sure everyone's on board with the process that's occurring. And what I'm going to talk about are pages 1 and 2 here, and that's the overall project approach. Pages 3 and 4 go into a specific design approach for the state dock, and then one for the waterfront. But it's the same process applied to both projects. Okay. So the 3 projects with the state dock, the shoreline park, and the village boat launch. Our involvement on the boat launch is to do a front landscape plan to give some curbside appeal. So that's the limit of our involvement on the boat launch right now. The project development approach. Now this stands for both the state dock and the shoreline park. Start with the process, which is the program confirmation. How are the different facilities to be used? The shoreline park and the dock. We went through with the committee today on a programming session, and essentially what that looks at is how do you want this facility to be used, what do you see it being, and all that. So that's sort of the program of uses that are anticipated for these 2 facilities. Second item that we'll be back with in approximately 3 to 4 weeks is would be the different design options for both of those facilities, for the waterfront park and for the pier. Okay, so looking at all the options available. And then what we'll do is we'll test those design options against the program of uses that the committee came up with and report on that to the village board here for their input. All right. And then after that, once we have a resolve as to a concept that everyone would like to follow through on, we apply a construction cost to that to see how feasible it is and perspective of grants available and the like. And through this process, we'll also analyze any site conditions that pertain to the proposed method of construction. From that, so once we have our design concept down based on our preferred design style and the program of uses, we'll develop a construction cost assessment for the preferred concept design, and then take the design into what we call the design development phase. And what that does essentially is take that original kind of loose concept and refines it more down to actual details. Okay, and that's where we'll be stopping at this point with our scope of work. And then from that, once funding is secured and all that, we move into the construction document phase, go through the involved agency permitting. We'll bid the project and then go into the construction phase and have hopefully a pretty powerful ribbon cutting at the end. So that's the process we'll take in developing these 2 projects. And we're at the very start of them, where we've just identified the program today with the committee. And we'll be providing that in a summary notes. And the next step, once again, would be to present those design options that can be considered in the construction of these 2 projects.
Board have any questions?
I do. So when you, on number 2 here under process, identify design options, are you going to be coming back to the committee and then eventually to us with a picture of what could possibly be done?
Yes.
Or, so you're going to take the uses that they have come up with, the committee has come up with, I assume, in conjunction with some of the visioning that went on?
That's correct. We use the visioning
Right.
as to set up the templates. Here's kind of what we heard from the group.
Okay.
Now what can be added from this, what's important.
And then you can come up with maybe a picture of what design would be appropriate based on those uses? Is that the way it works?
Right, it's kind of a parallel course right now.
Okay.
We'll come up based on our expertise, what's available for construction technology, say for the state dock. Here's like 6 or 7 options you can have for different types of construction, from sheet piling to a concrete pier truss system. So we'll look at all those options. And likewise for the park, what we'll do is we'll take a slightly different approach based on the program of uses, apply those uses, like strolling is a big one, so the idea of a promenade, and apply that to a concept design, and get feedback on that concept design for the park.
And do these things come with associated costs? Or?
Well, right after that, say, yeah, we like this one or these 2 options, let's pursue those in developing a concept level construction process.
Okay.
So the whole idea is to take it through a process, get consensus along the way, and get verification along the way.
Are there any fears that a design would be decided upon that would just turn out to be too expensive?
No, because we'll, early in the process, after about at the seventh step here,
Right.
is where we'll start developing the initial construction costs. So we'll have a pretty good feel as to what the two projects would cost.
Okay.
Okay?
But-
So we haven't taken the design too far down the road where we can't back up.
Okay, that was
Okay?
going to be my next question, because if I was just looking at this
Yeah.
numerical.
So throughout that process,
Right.
we'll be updating that construction
Okay.
cost assessment as
Okay.
the design gets more refined.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? You did well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I like teasing, but you can get it. Oh, Mike, I forgot you.
The only thing to report is I spent last week in Lake Placid at our annual code conference meeting. It goes towards continuing credits, which I'm required to get to maintain certification. I learned a lot. I learned how to sign in and be on time. No, it was well worth it. You always learn something, and the code's constantly changing, so.
We got to take our son with you next time.
Oh, he gonna live tonight down his, he's not gonna live tonight.
I'm only kidding. Sorry, I forgot his newspaper again, so I'm sorry, our Santa's going to have to be tomorrow.
Okay.
Other than that, I thank you for the computer, for the office in the village of Champlain. It's going to come in very handy.
Thank you. Very quickly, I just wanted to update the board on the Main Street Program grant. Obviously, we had good news since our last board meeting. Our Main Street Award was announced. That's $175,000 from the state for facade and building renovations and $25,000 for streetscape improvements. I met with Scott Campbell from Friends of the North Country on Thursday to try to come up with a plan for the first phase of our program. What we're going to try to do is use the next 3 months to prepare for a meeting at the end of May with the property owners. We're going to look at the environmental work that we need to do in order to secure the contract with the state, get the contract secured, and then put together our action plan, which is how we're going to go ahead and administer the project. That's the first task that the state would like us to do before we actually go to the public. In the meantime, I'm going to be contacting all the property owners on Lake Street, let them know that people who are interested will be having a meeting at the end of May. They can start sketching out their ideas for what they'd like to do to their buildings, and start gathering hopefully old photographs or any other information they have on the building. Are there any questions from the board on Main Street?
I actually have a question, and I received a couple of questions from residents about the smaller article. I know you've done an article for the press, but I know it hasn't been in yet. The smaller article that was in the press where the money was broken out into 3 sections, one of which was $80,000 for interior renovations, and the questions that I've gotten is what exactly does that mean?
The purpose of the grant, there were several different purposes in the grant program. There was the facade renovations to improve the appearance of Main Street, but there was also a housing component. So that building renovation money would be for the interior of the structures, including second-story housing units in some of the buildings. Now, that was a budget that was submitted. We had to turn in an estimate of what we wanted to do for our work plan. Once we get commitments from property owners and we really know who's interested in the program, we'll have to decide how to divide that money up. But that was for actually projects that would go beyond just the facade, the front, face of the building, and allow for interior work.
So you're saying it might not amount to the $80,000, is that what you're saying?
What we turned in was a budget for 9 facades and 2 entire building. You have to do the facade to get the interior money. So
Okay.
2 facade and then whole building project. That was in the budget. But prioritizing the actual awards will probably be based upon the historic facades first. And I think it's always been the board's goal to get as many facades as possible done. So we're going to have to kind of play that by ear as we see who comes in and what their projects are.
Anything else, board?
Yeah, I just want to say that you, Melissa, that I think I'm really impressed, with this project status form, and I know you're incredibly lucky or something there that every time you apply for something, we've been getting it. So I'm real happy that the money's coming to the village. I think we're all on the same page with you too. That you're very organized, and I'm real happy with what's going on in the village. So I
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
And this one too, the Main Street grant is, it's just so important to the, I think, to the merchants who have really stuck it out on Main Street for many years. To be able to see some reward from that, I think that it's really going right to exactly the right place.
Now, that just goes to Pratt and Chapman Street, right?
To Liberty, actually,
Liberty.
to the buildings right across from the village office. And actually, it extends to the fire station, the two properties, the two residential properties are in, and the hair hut and the little white building, Mr. Bayshard's property, that's also in the title. And I'll be getting back to Brett. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. I did put those semi-annual reports on our downtown grants in your mailboxes. Gives you a picture of what tasks we have and where we are. We asked for an extension because our contract does expire at the end of this month. We asked to go through December to finish up our study and our design guidelines. And the QC grant for the zoning and zoning review, codes review, and the streetscape work on Montgomery Street was submitted. It's in Phil's office if anyone would like to take a look. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. At this time, I'll open up to the public again. Anybody from the public wish to address the board? Now, I want to know what you get, all the names are.
Actually, I do have a question. I think it was Trustee Moore. You talked about there being, what is it, like a parking lot or something that you're
Village parking lot,
Where is that going to be?
right behind Old Town Cafe.
Oh, okay.
That's the village parking lot that we redone last year, or everything, graded it down and everything. That's the parking lot.
Approximately how big is it going to be?
Pretty big.
You have stumped the
I'd like to
board.
know.
Probably 150 by 75.
Yeah, it's got, go on, we'll measure it with you tomorrow.
That's okay, thanks.
I appreciate you young folks being here at our board meeting, but I would certainly like to know who you are, if you don't mind.
I'm Marissa Barco. I'm Sarah Bushy.
And I'm a Vermonter that's on this medical
And your purpose?
This is a requirement from our governing course.
Oh, okay.
We have to see the fundamentals
It
of
was a pleasure having you here all. What about Allison? She didn't
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
Allison always here.
Oh yeah, I'm Jennifer Ashland.
Well, thank you for being here. Anybody else want to address the board? If not, go ahead, Jules.
Are they gonna put any signs on that village parking lot?
Yes.
Yes.
Because a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
people are wondering where it is.
Yeah, that's one of, a big question.
It's a good sized parking lot, so the
Yeah.
village should put some kind of sign there. really.
We need something on the corners there so that they know that it's a parking lot there. You're absolutely right. That has been addressed several times now, and it's finally sunk in. With that, I make a motion for adjournment.
Make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. We are adjourned at